Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about the 81 combinations. Now I'm not going to be covering what the 81 combinations mean because there's plenty of free information out there already, readily available to everybody, and but I will be covering something. So if you read about the 81 combinations, you will see that each combination has a positive or negative and a negative property. I mean, you will see both of them listed in most places, or at least the ones that really covered in full. And what I'm going to do is explain to you how you can know under what conditions the positive or negative aspects of these 81 combinations will be brought out for your house or your apartment. Now, one of the best detailed descriptions of the 81 star combinations comes, I think, from Imperial Harvest. They do a really thorough job, and it's worth a look at. But this isn't the only one. You can just Google 81 star combinations and you'll find this. You don't even have to say Feng Shui. Now, if you understand star timeliness, you are more than halfway to understanding how to interpret the 81 combinations, because how you interpret it basically depends on star timeliness. So in period 9, which is the period we're currently living in, the timely stars are 9, 1, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Now 8 is as weak as it can be, but it's still generally considered to be timely. So this means that the 3, 5, and 7 are the untimely stars in period 9. Now the 9, 1, and 2 are, by the very strictest of definitions, they're timely. 4 is an Hertu combination with 9, which is usually considered timely, and 6 is generally timely. Of course, if you have Sha Qi with the 4, 6, or 8 in that sector, it might not be quite so timely because the Sha Qi has a negative effect and may tamp down these. But the 9, 1, and 2 are definitely, absolutely timely. Now, any combination of two timely stars obviously brings out the positive aspect of the combination. So that isn't a question. I think most people would know that. And the same thing about the untimely stars. If you've got two untimely stars together, that's obviously going to bring out the negative combination. I think that, again, is pretty obvious. Of course, what is less clear is when you're mixing a timely and untimely star in a certain sector of your house. Now, the most timely star in period 9, the strongest one, is star 9. And it'll often rule in a mixed combination, but it doesn't fully cancel out the untimely star. So you will have maybe somewhere between 60 and 80% positive, but you'll still have somewhere between 40 and 20% of the time in that area resulting in some sort of negative aspect. So it's not great, but it's better than having two untimely stars together. Now for other timely stars, that is the 1, 2, 4, 6, and 8, it's usually at best a 50-50 mix, where the negative and the positive aspects over time, about half of the time is good, half the time is bad. Of course, if it's an 8, it's probably more like 60, 70% of the time it's negative, because 8 is quite weak and technically is as weak as it can be. So the 8, you may not have it quite so good with an untimely star, that is. Now, the other thing is what is timely, which stars are timely, does not just depend on the star and the period, but you kind of have to be a little lucky. For certain flying star charts and certain purple-white charts, all stars can become timely. So a, a 3, a 5, and a 7 is still timely if you have the right charts. And for the Flying Star chart, it has to be activated. Now, this is one reason why many practitioners go out of the way to find a house with at least one of these formations. And if you only can pick one, the Flying Star is the more important one. And of course, if you own the house, it's possible with a purple-white chart if you can, it's not always doable, but sometimes you can move your main door and create a good purple-white chart that is a permanently good one. Now, the main door is where packages are delivered and guests come and ring the doorbell. It's not the one you use all the time. It's the one that is where the public comes in, and it's usually the one that is directly open to the outside. Now, I do have videos that will discuss all of the possible special formations in both the Flying Stars and charts, and also there are fewer purple-white charts that have special formations, but I also have a video that will help you determine all of this. Now, the Flying Star charts need to be activated. That having the right chart is not enough. And what is required for activation depends on the formation. I have a video that's called 6 Special Flying Star Formations for All House Facings, All Periods. And your house is guaranteed to have one of these 6 formations. However, only 4 of these 6 have formations that make all stars timely for all periods. But they have to be activated. And again, the activation for some of them is pretty easy. The activation for some others is quite difficult. So you have to know what you have. And you have to know you have the right landforms usually. Except for one just needs no missing sectors. And so, but that's all covered. Now, the activation requirements are found in a separate video because otherwise the video would be ridiculously long. And it's called Activating the 6 Special Formations, Flying Star Formations. And you will see there what you need to activate whichever special formation your house has. Now, the purple-white chart is permanently activated if it is present, and it's activated by time because the annual star is part of the purple-white chart. Every year it changes and it gets reactivated. Now, I have a video that's called Permanently Great Purple-White Charts, and it will tell you how to find out if your current residence has one of these. And this is one that you can actually modify and be able to perhaps change your purple-white chart, and you won't change your Flying Star chart. So that is a possibility. But of course, you also do need to look at your Chi-Min chart in general. But if you can get these 2 to be good, things are much smoother. And but you can't always do this with the purple-white chart. Sometime you can, sometime you can't. If you're in an apartment, I can almost guarantee you if you don't have it automatically, you're not going to be able to get it because usually you cannot change the location of your main door. So it's and your main door is usually your balcony. Well, it's not. It's actually very complicated. I do have a video that talks about apartments, and you would have to watch that to kind of understand the whole thing. But in general, you can't do much about this in an apartment. You really can't do much with the purple-white chart. It is what it is. But in a house, you can, and you have to own the house, of course. Now, assuming you do not have one of the 4 special formations that's activatable and or isn't activated, then what you need to do is you need to look at your Flying Star chart by focusing on the facing and sitting stars. Don't be concerned about the base star. The base star tells you about the future prospects. It doesn't tell you about what is happening in your life at present. So it is the facing and sitting star that tells you that. So you just look at those two, look at that combination. But if you do have one of the special formations activated that make all stars timely, you just look at the positive aspect, obviously. Now the purple-white chart combination, there's 3 stars there also, but you want to look at the 2 stars that are not the annual star. And the annual star is the same for everybody, but these other 2 stars will depend on the layout of your house and a certain key number, which I talk about in the purple-white chart video I mentioned earlier. Now, if you're lucky enough to have an activated special formation, one of those 4 that make all stars timely for all period, and you have a special formation in your purple-white chart, you just interpret all the stars as timely, and you only look at the positive aspects. Now, there are houses that do exist that look like this, and the house that we are building actually has this, and we were very lucky to actually purchase the right property. So and I think that I think that has to do. I do have some sort of feel for Feng Shui, even without knowing it. I mean, without knowing all the details of Feng Shui. Now, this is one big issue. There is disagreement between different Feng Shui masters or different schools, perhaps, about the nature of star 2 as an annual or monthly star in period 9, and the same thing would occur in period 1 and maybe even in period 2. And half of them believe one version and the other half believe the other version. So, but it's clear that when star 2 was untimely, that is from periods 3 all the way through period 8, absolutely everybody would say star 2 was untimely. It is considered the illness star. And being in that location for long periods of time, people tend to develop illness unless they are a Kwa number 2 or a Kwa number 8, because those two share the earth element with a star 2. And so I think you should be okay. And generally don't have problems with illness because you're in sync with the star. So you really should consider yourself lucky, because sometimes you're stuck in a location with star 2. Now, all masters agree about star 2 being timely in the flying star chart and the purple-white chart for period 9. The question is, what about the annual stars? Roughly half say it's untimely, the other half say it's timely as the annual and monthly stars. So, we basically are going to have to test this out. Now, I happen to be with the masters that say star 2 is timely for all charts, including the annual monthly star, in periods 9, 1, and 2. Every other period, I say it's untimely. Oh, by the way, when star 2 is timely, it goes from an illness star to a wealth star. So star 2 in your flying star chart and your purple-white chart is a good star. Just to be clear about that, there's no disagreement about that. Now, unfortunately, star 2 is in the same sector as an annual affliction until 2029, and therefore it can't easily be tested until that time, because if you do become sick, you don't know if it's the annual affliction or star 2. And now there is a possibility of testing this as a monthly star, and I'm going to test this in the upcoming dog month, but the dog month is also is conflicting with the dragon year, so there is a clash there. So it may be a little hard to tell whether or not, if I get sick, that this is star 2, or is it the dog clashing with the dragon. Now, the only reason I'm testing it this particular month is because star 2 has entered the normal place where I work, and I'm not going to bother moving just because the monthly star 2 has come. And so I'm just not worried about it. But we'll see. But again, unfortunately, it's a little hard to test. Next year, it will be in a different month, and it probably will be not with the uh, clash animal location. And hopefully, I'll be able to test it next year. And I'll test it again, in, as much as I can. And I'll see if I'm right or the other masters are right. Well, I should say the other masters. I'm not a master. Just want to make that clear. That is, the masters who say star 2 is untimely as an annual monthly star. Maybe they are right. It's a 50-50 chance as far as I'm concerned. Now, which stars are timely when you don't have a special formation depends on the period in which we are living. In the very, very strictest, this is the most strictest interpretation you can have of timely stars, the current period star and the 2 future stars are timely. So for period 9, that means 9, 1, and 2. And period 1, it's 1, 2, and 3, and so forth. That is the absolute strictest definition. And of course, most people who practice, and including masters, aren't quite so strict as this. But this is why I say star 2 is timely. By the very strictest thing, it's timely. So this is why I believe it's timely even in the annual and monthly stars. But after years of looking, the practitioners in general, including masters, basically say that 1, 4, 6, and 8 are almost always timely. And although they may vary a bit in strength depending on the period we're living in, generally they tend to bring good luck. And it doesn't matter the period. Now, except when you have timeliness through this definition here of what period we're living in, the stars 2, 3, 5, and 7 are generally considered untimely. And so that is, this is why some of the masters say, oh, star 2 is untimely in an annual chart. At least that's what I assume. Now, when not considered timely by this criteria, which means period 7, 8, and 9, star 9 is typically considered to be an amplifying star. So if it's paired with a timely star, it makes the pairing more timely or more positive. Whereas if it's paired with an untimely star, then the star 9 becomes negative. So it just reflects whatever star it's paired with and accentuates it a bit. So that's basically it. I hope that's enough to understand how to interpret the 81 different combinations. And again, there's a lot of information out there. I don't want to go through all of them. That video would be terrible to do and very boring. So, but you can read about it and just scroll down and find your whatever combinations you have in your house. So thanks again for watching.